left Grand Marais and Lake Superior's infamous shipwreck coast just after sunrise and about 1 o'clock past the picturesque light station at Whitefish Point. After that, we were going along in the busy shipping lanes of Whitefish Bay and the upper St. Mary's River before finally arriving aboard Sault Ste. Marie around 6 p.m. Freelance was again headed to the lower Great Lakes, but to do it we first needed to go down 21 feet in one of the locks at Sault Ste. Marie, also known as the Soo. When we were about 20 minutes away from the locks, I called VDX-23 Canadian Canal on Channel 14 to receive instructions from the lockmaster. My call was timed for our estimated time of arrival, so we might avoid having to make lazy circles holding in the approach while they were getting the locks ready for our descent. My early call proved to be the right thing to do. The lock had indeed been at low pool, and we were informed that it would be about 20 minutes before it was ready. It was perfect timing, so we just kept leisurely going towards the Canadian lock. There are actually two lock systems at Sault Ste. Marie, the Canadian Canal and the American locks. You're free to use either, and we have used both. This time we chose to go through the Canadian lock mainly because it's so convenient for recreational crafts, and it's better scale for them. The lock is about 250 feet long, 50 feet wide, and has an available draft of just under 10 feet. In contrast, the big freighters use the huge American locks, which can handle lagers and salties longer than 1,000 feet, or about 300 meters if you prefer to think in that measurement. These locks are very busy. The Soo and the St. Mary's River that flows through here have been an important connecting waterway throughout history. It was crucial in the times of the old northwestern fur trade, and today it carries an enormous amount of freight. The cargo is mainly bulk shipments of taconite pellets and grain, but also, of course, shipping containers. In fact, according to the U.S. Library of Congress, more tonnage passed through the Soo locks every year than through the Suez and Panama canals combined. As I said, it doesn't really matter if you choose to go through the Canadian or the American locks in your boat, except the American locks operate 24 hours a day. The Canadian lock does not. So if you wish to lock through late at night, your only choice is to use the huge American locks. There are no fees for using any of the locks, and both systems are considered international, so you don't have to worry about having your documents and passport ready for border inspection. When you get close to the lock, there's a traffic light on the shore, and when it's showing green, it's a signal you can enter the lock. Right here, on the east side of the canal, you can see the green signal on the pole. By the way, you should know that locking through either system is usually done with an audience. Since the mid-1800s, tourists have come from far away to see the spectacle of ships locking through, and there's even a large covered visitor stand on the American side. So, be prepared to smile for the cameras. But on this particular day, there were only a handful of tourists. When locking down in the Canadian Canal, you will need to have your fenders and dock lines ready on the port side of your boat, because that's the side that will be against the lock's wall. And you should also have your boat hooks, and no plural, on deck ready for pushing off the wall. In general, lock walls are often dirty and slimy, and you can save yourself considerable time and effort cleaning your fenders afterwards if you are able to push off the walls. During the lock operations, there seems to be very little noticeable turbulence in the Canadian lock, but your boat would drift around if it wasn't attached to the lock's wall. So to do that, just loop 2 dock lines around 2 of the vertical cables, or as here, the shore personnel might do it for you. It's a super easy system to use. It's different on the American side. There you will need to request 2 lines in advance when you call in on a VHF. They used to tell you to turn off your engine while you are on the Canadian lock, but they are now instructing you not to do it. I guess the reason is if someone can't easily restart their engine, it could cause delays and trouble for other boaters wishing to lock through. That actually happened to us once after we had taken on some heavily contaminated diesel fuel. Freelance went up and down several times in the Canadian lock, while Vicki and I were busy working to clear the Racor filter and restart the engine, all the while when other boaters were locking through and the tourists were gawking at us. Incidentally, sometimes your dock lines may hang up a bit, but they're easily cleared. And after you're attached to the cables and starting to go down, it's really just a matter of patiently waiting until the gates open up for you. Just after coming out of the Canadian lock, we met a traditional Montreal canoe. These sturdy birch bark canoes were used during the old fur trade times to carry goods on the voyages route between Montreal and Lake Superior. They are about the same length as Freelance and can hold about 3 tons of cargo. Anyway, we quickly crossed over the St. Mary's River to the George Kemp Marina on the American side, where we had transient dock reservations for the next couple of days. But first we had to make a brief stop at the fuel dock to top off our diesel tank. When we got to Kemp Marina, there were no other boats at the fuel dock, so we could come right in. The run from Grand Marais, a distance of about 80 nautical miles, had taken us just 13 hours, including the time it took for us to go down the 21 feet in the Canadian locks. All in all, it had been a good day out there in Lake Superior, and we were now looking forward to spending some time relaxing with friends at the Soo and celebrating the 4th of July before pushing on to the lower lakes.
Thanks for watching our video to the end, and please click on like and subscribe.